You've probably told yourself you'd never fall for a scam. You're too smart, too careful. You'd see it coming a mile away. And you've probably also heard that scam victims are just gullible, careless, or old. So here's the uncomfortable question. If scams are so obvious, why did Americans lose over $10 billion to them in a single year, including doctors, lawyers, engineers, and CEOs? The answer is more specific and a lot more unsettling than some people are just dumb. Here's what this video is actually about. Scams don't work because the victim is stupid. They work because the scammer is running a script, a psychological playbook refined over decades that bypasses your logic and hijacks your emotions before your rational brain ever gets a vote. And a lot of what you've been told about how to spot one is basically useless. We're going to go through the 7 signs that someone is about to scam you, the exact moves they make, the order they make them in, and the psychological buttons they're pushing while they do it. Manufactured urgency, the trust setup, the impossible offer, the weird payment request, the isolation play, the information grab, and the one final move that tells you it's already too late. By the end, you'll be able to feel a scam starting in real time before it costs you anything. Let's start with the move that's hiding in almost every single scam. Sign number 1. They create urgency out of nowhere. This is the big one, the one technique that shows up in nearly every scam ever run. Pay attention to it, because once you see it, you'll spot it everywhere. A scammer's single greatest enemy is time, because time lets you think. Time lets you call a friend, check the facts, sleep on it, notice the thing that doesn't add up. So the very first thing a good scammer does is take your time away. They manufacture a crisis, a fake emergency that forces you to act right now before your rational brain can catch up. The experts who study this don't mince words about it. As one fraud investigator put it, this is a science. What works is urgency, the feeling that you have to act fast, combined with fear. That's the entire engine. In utility scams, the victim is typically given a strict deadline, often less than an hour, to pay or get their power shut off. In investment scams, the con artist tells you the window of opportunity is about to close forever. Different costume, same move. And here's the part most people don't realize. The urgency isn't a side effect of the scam. It is the scam. It's the mechanism that switches off the part of your brain that would otherwise save you. When you feel that sudden pressure, act now or lose everything, that feeling is not information about the situation. It's the weapon being used on you. So the rule is simple, and it might be the most valuable thing in this entire video. Anytime someone you didn't contact is pushing you to act immediately, that pressure itself is the red flag. A real bank, a real government agency, a real business, they will let you hang up, think, and call back. A scammer can't afford to let you do that, because the moment you slow down, you win. But urgency alone isn't enough to take your money, because you don't hand cash to a stranger just because they're in a hurry. First, they have to make you trust them. And the way they do that is the second sign, and it's far more subtle than you'd expect. Sign number 2. They build trust way too fast or borrow it from someone you already trust. A scam is, at its core, a confidence trick. The whole thing depends on one thing, getting you to trust them before they ask for anything. And scammers have 2 ways to do this. One is slow, one is instant. Both are deadly. The slow version you see in romance scams. The scammer doesn't ask for money on day one. They invest weeks, sometimes months, even a full year, building what feels like a real relationship. They send compliments. They shower you with affection, what psychologists actually call love bombing. They ask you endless questions about your life while revealing almost nothing real about themselves. By the time they finally ask for money for a plane ticket, a medical emergency, a stuck shipment, you don't feel like you're being scammed. You feel like you're helping someone you love. That's the trap. The relationship was the setup the entire time. The instant version is even sneakier. Instead of building trust from scratch, the scammer borrows it from an institution you already trust. They spoof a caller ID so your phone says it's your bank. They use the real company's hold music and automated greeting so it sounds exactly right. They impersonate the Social Security Administration, the IRS, a police officer. They've even been known to relay real personal details about you, pulled from data breaches, to prove they're legit. They didn't earn your trust, they stole the uniform of someone who already had it. Here's the tell. Real trust is built on what someone reveals about themselves over time. Manufactured trust is built on what someone claims about themselves right now. If someone you barely know feels weirdly close, weirdly fast, or if an official contacts you out of the blue already knowing things about you, that's not a connection, that's a setup. And once they've got your trust and your urgency working together, they bring out the bait, which is the third sign. And it's the one your own brain will try to talk you into. Sign number 3. The offer is too good to be true, and they need you to ignore that. You already know this one. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Everyone's heard it. And yet it works on people constantly, because scammers have figured out how to make your greed louder than your judgment. The offer is engineered to be just plausible enough, guaranteed returns of 10 or 12%, year after year, no matter what the market does. A lottery you don't remember entering, an inheritance from a relative you've never heard of, a crypto token that's about to explode. The number is always big enough to make your heart race, but not so big that it instantly screams fake. And here's the genius of it. They're not really selling you an investment. They're selling you a feeling. The fantasy of easy money, of finally getting ahead, of being the smart one who got in early. Once you're emotionally attached to that fantasy, you stop scrutinizing the deal. You start defending it. You become your own scammer. There's a darker version of this too. Sometimes the con artist will even let you believe you're the one cheating them. They'll structure it so you think you're getting away with something, exploiting a loophole, getting insider access, beating the system, but anyone who falls for that has already fallen for the essential con, believing the money was ever real in the first place. And the scariest part is how it scales. The same emotional hook that catches one person catches millions. The classic Ponzi structure runs entirely on this feeling. Early investors get paid real returns. They tell their friends tell their friends, and the fantasy of guaranteed easy money spreads on its own. By the time anyone asks where the profits actually come from, the trap has already swallowed entire communities. People mortgage their homes, retirees hand over their life savings, not because they're reckless, but because the offer was tuned to the exact frequency of human hope. The number felt safe, the people involved seemed happy, and the part of the brain that should have asked, wait, how is this possible, had already been switched off by the fantasy. So the rule here isn't just too good to be true. It's sharper than that. The more an offer makes you feel like you'd be a fool to pass it up, the more carefully you should look at who's offering it. That feeling of I can't miss this is manufactured. It's the bait, dressed up as your own idea. That's 3 signs. And if you're starting to notice that all of these work by turning your own emotions against you, stay with me. Because the next sign is the most practical one on this list. It's the single clearest giveaway that you're not dealing with a real business. And once you know it, it's almost impossible to miss. Sign number 4. They ask to be paid in a strange, untraceable way. This might be the most reliable red flag of them all. Because no matter how good the story is, eventually the scammer has to get paid. And the way they ask to be paid gives the whole thing away. Think about how legitimate businesses take your money. Credit cards, bank transfers to verified accounts. Normal, traceable, reversible payment methods with consumer protections built in. Now think about what scammers ask for instead. Gift cards. Wire transfers through services like Western Union. Prepaid debit cards. Cryptocurrency. Payment apps sent to a stranger. Why those specifically? Because they all share one feature. Once the money is gone, it's gone. There's no chargeback, no fraud department that can claw it back. No paper trail leading to a real identity. When someone asks you to go to a store, buy gift cards, and read them the numbers over the phone, that is never, ever how a real institution operates. The IRS will not take payment in Apple gift cards. Your utility company will not accept Bitcoin to keep your lights on. No legitimate organization on earth needs you to wire money to a personal account to fix a problem. And the reason this sign is so powerful is that it's almost impossible to disguise. A scammer can fake a phone number, fake a relationship, fake an entire personality, but they cannot fake a payment method that protects you, because a payment method that protects you also exposes them. The untraceable payment request is the one part of the con they can't dress up. So if the story is urgent, the contact feels official, the offer sounds amazing, and then the payment has to be a gift card, you don't need to know anything else. That's the scam, fully revealed. But what happens when you start to hesitate? When some part of you says, let me just check with someone first. That's when the scammer plays their most manipulative card of all. Sign number 5. They try to isolate you from anyone who might talk you out of it. A scammer's second greatest enemy, after time, is other people. Because the moment you tell a friend, a spouse, your bank teller, or your kid what's going on, there's a very good chance that person says the words the scammer fears most. That sounds like a scam. So a skilled scammer works hard to keep you alone. And they do it in ways that feel almost protective. They'll tell you the matter is confidential, that you can't discuss the investigation with anyone. They'll tell you that if you tell your family, you'll ruin the surprise, or jeopardize the deal, or get someone in trouble. In romance scams, they slowly position themselves as the only person who really understands you, subtly driving a wedge between you and the people who'd notice something's wrong. There's an even more sinister version that fraud researchers have documented. Some scammers deliberately encourage their victims to use money they've hidden from the IRS, money the victim isn't supposed to have. Why? Because now the victim is trapped. They can't go to the police without admitting their own wrongdoing. The The scammer has built a cage out of the victim's own guilt. Here's the principle underneath all of it. Secrecy protects the scammer, not you. Anytime someone insists that you keep a financial matter just between the two of you, that you don't loop in your family, your bank, or the authorities, they are not protecting your privacy, they are removing your lifeline. The single most effective thing you can do when something feels off is exactly the thing scammers work hardest to prevent. Say it out loud to someone you trust. And if you make it past all of that without sending money, don't relax yet, because the con isn't always about getting cash directly. Sometimes it's about something you'd hand over without thinking twice. Sign number 6. They fish for information that no legitimate caller would ever need. Not every scam is after your money directly. Some are after the keys to it. And those keys are your personal information. This is the quieter, more patient version of the con. A scammer calls pretending to be from your bank or a government agency. And under the friendly guise of verifying your identity, they start collecting your full name, your date of birth, your social security number, or even just the last 4 digits, your account numbers. Each piece seems small, harmless, even, but assembled together, they're everything someone needs to impersonate you, drain your accounts, or open credit in your name. And here's the move that makes it so effective. They flip the logic of identity verification against you. Normally, when you call your bank, you prove who you are to them. In this scam, they call you and then ask you to verify yourself, which means handing them the exact information they're pretending to already have. They've reversed the direction of trust, and most people don't notice it happening. The detail almost nobody knows is what happens next. If you give a scammer what they want, you don't just lose this one round. Your name often gets added to what's literally called a sucker list, a list of confirmed, responsive targets that get sold and traded among scammers, which is why people who get scammed once so often get hit again and again. You didn't just lose money or data. You got marked as someone who picks up the phone and plays along. And there's a reason a specific group gets targeted hardest. Older adults make up the overwhelming majority of victims in certain scam categories. By some measures, around 80% of telemarketing scam victims. It's not because they're less intelligent, it's because they're more likely to answer an unknown call, more likely to have savings worth stealing, and statistically less likely to report the crime afterward, often because they assume nothing will be done about it. Scammers study these patterns the way marketers study customers. They know exactly who is most likely to pick up, stay on the line, and follow instructions. The targeting is deliberate, data-driven, and cold. So the rule is absolute. A real institution that contacts you already has your information. They don't need you to recite it. Anyone who calls you and then asks you to confirm sensitive details has the entire relationship backwards. Hang up. Call the official number yourself. Every time. Which brings us to the 7th sign. And this one is different from the rest, because the first 6 are warnings that a scam is starting. This last one is the signal that the trap has already closed. And what you do in this moment decides everything. Sign number 7. When you push back, the story suddenly escalates. Here's the final test, and it's the one that separates a real interaction from a con beyond any doubt. When you start to resist, when you ask a hard question, or say you want to check with someone, or simply hesitate, watch what happens to the story. In a legitimate situation, resistance is fine. A real business lets you say no. A real official lets you verify. Your hesitation doesn't threaten them, because they have nothing to hide. But in a scam, the moment you push back, the pressure doesn't ease. It intensifies. This is the con artist's make or break moment. The point where the whole scheme either succeeds or collapses, and they know it, so they escalate. Suddenly the consequences get bigger. The deadline gets shorter, the friendly tone turns sharp, or desperate, or threatening. If you hang up now, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. If you don't act in the next 10 minutes, the offer is gone forever and you'll regret it. They might bring in a second voice, an accomplice posing as a supervisor, a manager, a senior investigator, to add a layer of fake authority and pressure you back into line. Fraud researchers have a name for this whole structure. The sudden manufactured crisis that forces an immediate decision is sometimes called the hurrah, and the fake bystander brought in to confirm the story is the in and in. This is the tell that overrides everything else. Because a real person, a real company, a real agency has no reason to panic when you slow down. Only someone who needs your decision made before you can think will fight that hard to keep you from thinking. Escalation under pressure isn't a sign that the situation is serious. It's a sign that the situation is fake. So let's bring it all together, because once you see the pattern, you can never unsee it. A scam isn't one trick. It's a sequence. They steal your time with manufactured urgency. They steal your trust, either slowly or by borrowing someone else's uniform. They dangle an offer engineered to drown out your judgment. They demand payment in a form that can never be traced or returned. They isolate you from anyone who'd say stop, They fish for the information that unlocks the rest of your life. And the instant you resist, they escalate. Because your hesitation is the only thing that can beat them. Notice the thread running through every single one. None of these work on stupid people. They work on human people. They target the parts of you that are kind, that want to help, that fear authority, that hope for a better deal, that trust a familiar voice. That's why doctors and lawyers and CEOs fall for them too. The scam was never aimed at your intelligence. It was aimed at your instincts. So the next time you feel that sudden pressure, the racing heart, the ticking clock, the voice telling you to act now and tell no one, stop. That feeling isn't your gut warning you to move fast. It's the scam, working exactly as designed. And now you know what it looks like from the inside. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop it in the comments. Have you ever caught a scam while it was happening and hung up? Or do you know someone who got pulled in before they realized what was going on? I read every single one, and your story might be the warning that saves someone else scrolling through. And if this changed the way, you'll hear that next suspicious phone call. Subscribe, because there's a lot more coming on how these schemes really work, and the next one might be the one you needed to see most.